What's going on YouTube? What's up, everyone? Connor on Chain here. Yo, we're back. Gonna be talking about a couple things today, mainly about hype launches and what you guys should be doing to avoid getting burned most of the time when it comes to hype launches. But I'm gonna bring up some good things, some bad things, and hopefully you guys just get a better understanding of what to look for when certain projects launch, and what to just watch out for in general. So obviously, if you guys know the space, if you guys have seen what's been happening, we got ticker SAVM, Satoshi VM is launched. This one actually had one of the most hype launches I think I've ever seen in crypto up to date over the last probably I'd say a few months up to even a year. This has been a crazy launch for this coin. When it launched to, which is wild, I didn't know until I think earlier today was that it launched literally at 3 million in market cap, and from there this has just been ripping. So even if you got in on the open market really low, that like you're already up a nice minimum 5, 10, 20x. This one I did not expect it to run as hard as it did. But this project specifically has a lot of good things going for it. But again, so what I want to bring up mainly here though is that when it comes to new launches, most of the time what you're gonna see, even I guess this is only a day old. So yeah, maybe a day and a half, 2 days old here. So when it comes to a lot of hype launches, guys, you're going to see charts usually do one of two things. The main thing is, the time frame of how this happens is going to vary depending on how much hype a project has, and honestly, like just what the project is, who's behind it, and a lot of things like that. But most projects, what they're going to do when they have a lot of hype is they're going to launch. Let's say, for example, Savum right here just continues up for another 3 to 5 days. Phase 1 for it, it's going to completely rip to the upside. You're gonna have so many people FOMOing in, being like, yo, I should have got in yesterday. And then they buy late, they buy the top, even though it continues up for a while. Because now the market cap's at 130 million. Yesterday when I was looking at it, it was at like 50, 60 million. Did not think it would continue this hard, but it has. That's going to be the same mindset for me, thinking, oh my god, it keeps going. Well, now I want to buy in. I'm going to be late. It's like, no. FOMO is what is going to kill most people when they get in. Yeah, again, you could have made really good money if you got in early here, but most of the time that's not going to be the case every single time a hype launch happens. Phase 1, we're going to have the market shoot up. There's going to be a lot of hype. A lot of people are going to want to get in or are actually getting in. But, again, depending on the project and the time frame, phase 2 is usually when the first major correction happens. And after a while, especially if projects have heavy backing, as far as for VCs, pre-sale, private sales, any sort of heavy allocation for the team for any sort of sale, over a span of time, once the hype dies out from the launch, and especially when a lot of investors who got in very early start to sell and dump because they realize, oh, the hype's gone, like I need to get some profits out. Phase 2 of what's going to happen is a nice juicy dump. Maybe it's not going to go all the way back down here, but for the most part, a heavy correction will come for the project. And I'll say it again, the time frame depends on every project. Some projects they'll launch, and within the same day they go up, and then they come right back down, and their hype is already dead. But some projects take 3 weeks to a month for that to happen. Like we might see this project continue to run to 2, 3, 400 million, before finally having a heavy correction. Like I was saying, it's going to pull something like this. It's going to continue to try to break highs, and eventually it's just going to start failing and falling. And also too, it depends on many other factors, but this is where one or two things oftentimes will happen. There's going to be some sort of heavy correction at some point, but it's going to also rely on the hype in which I'm talking about. Most coins will do this if their hype dies completely very fast. Oh my god, look at this. It's like you guys are looking at a slideshow right now. That's crazy. It's going to go up, come almost all the way back down. Sometimes it'll go even underneath. That's very common. Or two, if this just continues with the hype over a long span of time, it'll correct. It'll continue its bullish momentum, and it might continue to move like this. It could do this too as well. But in my case of seeing launches and watching projects launch, just over my experience and time over the last few years, usually this is not the case unless the use case has got to be phenomenal, lots of different use. It's got to be all over social media. The sentiment's got to be nuts. Bottom line, it's very rare to see projects just shoot up from launch and over the long term continue up without correcting, having some sort of correction down. Because usually, I've talked about on the channel many times before, is I love to see coins that have very hyped launches, they dump for a while, and once they're at some sort of bottom, anywhere towards some sort of bottom area is going to be your golden entry as long as the team is still delivering and they're still building. That's mainly what I look for and what I focus on. Because usually, unless I'm getting in at the pre-sale or something, with a coin like this, I'm probably not going to be buying unless a heavy correction does hit. But again, it's very new. This could continue to run for a while. But like I'm saying right now, this is not a coin that I'm going to be investing in at all until the hype would die, because I want to see if the team can withstand, the test of time just in being in crypto. And I want to see if they can withstand, consolidations from Bitcoin, big dumps. I just want to see what they're about. And if they can continue to build and show that they can deliver, through any market conditions, that's going to be where my real conviction lies and my real conviction comes from. Like I said, this one's just very hyped right now. We could see this pull, 20 different things. This could start dumping in the next few hours, Do I think that's going to happen? No. I think this is going to run for a while, but again, I'm not going to be investing. I'm not watching it, Yeah, we got some heavy jeeters here. Look at that. Nice 10K buy on the day. But I'll show you guys like a coin in which it's kind of done what I really like to see. So we got NKI here. Where's the... I don't even know if I drew anything on it. But bottom line, NKI's had its launch. And when this did launch, this had a little bit of hype to it. But as you can see, it just died out. Continued to dump. Many people thought it would continue up, continue down, continue down. And it looks like until it finally found its bottom, which it looks like it might have been underneath where it was actually originally launched from. But again, that's fairly normal for a lot of different coins launching. For them to launch, have some hype launch, them to dump for a while, they might come down 40, 50%, upwards of more than that, 60, 70, 80%, from their, all-time high when they first launched. One of my favorite examples that I've used before is actually Uniswap. Do they even have Uni on here? Yeah, they do. But yeah, when Uniswap launched, it did the same exact thing. It had a hype launch. Yeah, holy moly, look at those buys. Some nice buys coming in, some juice. Got some juice buys coming in. Yeah, let me, oh, you know what, this must be a newer pool. So it's not going to show the price back then, but bottom line, this is like after the first cycle. It had its cycle. The bottom line, it launched. This is what Uniswap looked like when it launched. It had its hype, went up, and it looks kind of like this. It came down, settled for a little while, until the bull market really hit, and it absolutely took off. Obviously didn't look exactly like this, but it's fairly similar to just the idea, just to give you guys, just so you can understand what I'm talking about. It came up, came right back down, the hype died, it chilled out for a while, and once the bull market really just hit, late 2020, this just started to pick up like crazy, and it started to moon, and when after it launched too, and it came down, price around here was sitting around, I think, a few hundred million, literally sitting at in between 2 to 400 million at its bottom. So if you guys are getting in on the bottom, like, I don't think you realize how great of an entry certain projects can be at these levels, because after that, obviously Uniswap was one of the biggest dexes, if not the biggest dex last bull run, which is why it ran so hard. But it went from a couple hundred million upwards of, I think, almost 39 to 40 billion at its peak. And when a project launches, dumps, and it's at its low point, for it to be sitting already at a few hundred million this low, you can only speculate the gains that you can get from certain projects that launch, come back down, and they're sitting at this same low point, but they're only in maybe a few hundred K to a few million in market cap, even like 10, 20 million, 30 million in market cap at their low point, before they really start to move and take off. So that is where most of the gains are made. And actually, this is what the Uniswap chart looks like. As of right now, this is actually insanely great accumulation area, because again, like, when you look at it here, like, yeah, it looks like you're buying like the top of a range sort of, but it's like, at the end of the day, like, anywhere in between $4 to almost $8 looks like a beautiful accumulation. This is what the chart's gonna do. We're gonna look at the chart like this, and you think buying at this pixel versus this pixel, back then, do you think it really is gonna matter when you're up a 55x versus a 43x? Like, bro, no, you're not gonna be that worried about it. Again, I don't know what Uniswap's gonna do this run. I think there's a lot of other dexes out there too, especially like cross-chain swaps too, that they might just outdo Ethereum this bull run. But not Ethereum, Uniswap specifically. But bottom line, guys, that's just like the golden entry zone. Like, I preach it all the time. Certain projects, it looks like it's very high risk, but in my opinion, at least if you got a great project and you're buying literally at bottom levels, as long as the team develops and continues to deliver, and they build and they build and they build, and they actually keep their promises and continue to build and build, it's only going to just continue from there. And that's what you got to bet on. Bet on builders that continue to build, continue to push. That's mainly where my conviction comes from too. Obviously, it's going to be very low or very high risk to a lot of you guys, when you're looking at projects at a level like this, because you're like, well, bro, it hasn't moved. How do you know it's going to pump? And that's just like pure speculation on future attention. And if you got a great product that just doesn't have eyes yet, it's going to be a matter of time, before other people realize it, other people see it. That's, in my opinion, that's where the real money is made, is when you're buying the low points. And there's one coin that I just called the other day that's sitting at a beautiful entry zone. Chart actually looks kind of like this. But that's in the Patreon. I was going to call it here, but, I've been keeping a lot more projects mainly for the Patreon. Not talking too much about them on YouTube, until, maybe a little while later. Because, I'm trying to provide the most value that I can, to the people that are actually here, for me, and I respect that. But bottom line, I'll be calling some more stuff on YouTube very soon. And, I really want to see everyone win this cycle, and specifically if you can get into projects at a bottom, this is going to be your best entry, bottom line. So that's what I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.